America Tonight, we have Manai Tafari with us. He's an attorney who is involved in a very big case in New York. I'm going to jog everyone's memory. Do you remember the story of Nick Hillary? He's the father of 5 kids whose life has really been toppled since 2011. There was a 12-year-old boy, Garrett Phillips, who was killed, who lost his life, and Nick Hillary is charged with murdering the 12-year-old inside the Phillips home. Phillips was found strangled and suffocated. Now, here's the other part to this, and Manai will talk more about this, but a police lieutenant and a former police chief said under oath that there was no evidence tying the former Clarkson University soccer coach Nick Hillary to the killing of the 12-year-old boy, but yet this case continues to go on and on and on, and all of this balancing act, think of 2011, has been in the wind since then. So Manai Tafari is a New York City-based criminal defense attorney specializing with parole issues and immigration law. And it's interesting because Tafari himself knows what this is like, born and raised in rural Jamaica. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate the time. This story did get a lot of publicity. What's the latest? What's happening now here with Nick?
Well, the latest is that Mr. Hillary is currently in Potsdam, New York. He's basically living in a community that has been poisoned against him for the last 4 years. Now, just a little background on this case. This case took place in October of 2011, and immediately within an hour of this crime being committed, police officers were already at Mr. Hillary's home. Now, what should also be known is that Mr. Hillary has 2 alibi witnesses who place him elsewhere during the time of the crime. Also, police found DNA evidence on the victim, actually under the victim's fingernail, that they tested against Mr. Hillary's DNA, and it did not match. So if we take the police officer's word and we take the actual forensic DNA reports, science has already exonerated Mr. Hillary. Mr. Hillary's 2 alibi witnesses have already exonerated Mr. Hillary, but yet this case is scheduled to go to trial on November 30th.
Yeah, so you as an attorney, and you look at this, wow, and as you said, in November, what do you have to do here? You have to be a little bit nervous about this if you look at the potential here for the jurors and the balancing, like I said, the balancing act that is now what's happened to him.
Correct. Well, in a case like this, you can either become jaded or you could be inspired. And I believe that people of good conscience everywhere understand that this cannot happen. Actually, there is police videotape that was taken of Mr. Hillary the day after this murder. And in the affidavit that was used to secure a search warrant for Mr. Hillary, the police officer stated that Mr. Hillary had a significant limp the day after the murder, and they used the videotape to say this. However, this videotape is posted on truthfornickhillary.com, and anyone could go there and view the videotape for themselves and see that not only does Mr. Hillary not have a significant limp, he has no limp at all. And the point I'm trying to make here is that if Mr. Hillary goes to trial based on fabricated evidence, you will have a fabricated verdict. And that's why we're calling for people of good conscience to really take a look at this case and see for yourself what's really going on here.
Yeah, so as you say that, people of good conscience, how do you do that? Obviously, you come on shows like this one, but what else do you do to rattle the roofs and sort of raise the volume on this story? Because as you know, we live in a 140-character world, and people are zooming all over the place, and it's easy to have that get lost in the middle of everything that's going on.
Well, that is correct, and that's why we encourage people to go to truthfornickhillary.com. There's a whole lot more about this case, but if you go to truthfornickhillary.com, you will see ways in which you can help. Mr. Hillary personally is a Christian. He's only requested that people pray for him. However, we understand that for this fight, we will need a little bit more than prayers. So there are ways that the public can help. The public can get involved and support this man because he is an innocent man. And what the takeaway from this is that if this can happen to Mr. Hillary, this can happen to you, and this can happen to your son or your daughter. And when someone has 2 alibi witnesses and there's no physical evidence connecting them to a crime, they should not be charged with murder in the United States of America.
We're speaking with Minai Tafari, and he is a criminal defense attorney. We're talking about Nick Hillary's case, which comes up to trial in November. What has this done to his family? I briefly mentioned that he's got 5 children.
He does. He actually has 3 children under the age of 5. He has a 5-year-old boy and also 2-year-old twins. As far as they're concerned, it's a little bit easier because I don't believe they grasp the ugliness of what's going on. However, he does have a daughter who's 18 years old and a son who's 14. And during their formative years, they've had to live in a community that thinks their father is a murderer. And rumors that have been spread about him have caused his children to be bullied in school. His daughter actually received a scholarship to Clarkson University, where he was a former coach. And that scholarship was taken away as soon as her father was charged. So this has affected more than just Mr. Hillary. It's affected young children here, and I think that's a very sad part of the story. And the saddest part of the story is that a young boy died, and there's no justice for him.
Yeah, and that was my next question. So has it just been, okay, this is the guy, we're going to go through this trial process, and this case is done because we've got our guy, he was charged, etc., and we're not looking at anything else?
Well, that's a big part of it, actually. The police found their man, and then they attempted to figure out the facts to make it fit, as opposed to going where the facts lead you. Now, on truthandnickhillary.com, you will see much more information on this case, and you will see that there were other suspects who work in law enforcement who actually participated in the investigation of this case. And once people realize that, you understand that there's something going on here that's quite ugly and quite unfortunate and unjust.
Yeah, when you go back again and you look at this, and one thing that we should mention is when you look at Nick Hillary, he has a civil rights lawsuit pending against the Potsdam Police Department that was initiated, 2.5 years or something before
that is correct.
And do you think that has anything to play into this? Because before he was charged with the murder?
Well, immediately when this murder took place, Mr. Hillary's face was leaked in newspapers to the public. And I believe when Mr. Hillary did his civil rights lawsuit, he was basically coming out to say, look, I did not do this, and I'm going to fight to protect my good name. Now, it should be understood that the district attorney that was in office for 6 years before this murder took place did not bring Mr. Hillary's case to a grand jury. She looked at the case, and I would assume there's no evidence tying Mr. Hillary, so it wasn't brought. The current DA ran for office based entirely on this unsolved murder. And
Wow.
The current DA stated that she would arrest and charge the perpetrator before she even got into office. And within 5 months of this district attorney assuming office, she took a grand jury out on Mr. Hillary. So this has been a political case from the get-go. Political careers have been made on this case, and people are looking to further political careers by convicting an innocent man.
Yeah, Minai, as you said, the thing that's scary here is for people listening across the country. Certainly there's people in the Northeast that hear America Tonight. But for other people listening, the scary thing here is what you said, is that there was no DNA evidence, none of that stuff, nothing that could connect him, no physical evidence to, sadly, the boy's tragic death. And then somebody else is also roaming around. And if this could happen to him, as you're saying, this could happen to anyone. And that's the scary thing, isn't it?
Correct. And I would just also add, because it's a very important thing to understand, this indictment, the murder indictment, has previously been dismissed. And in the first dismissal, which is also available on truthandnickhillary.com, the judge cited that the prosecutor used her own opinion and poisoned the grand jury in order to get the first indictment. So this case has already been dismissed against Mr. Hillary, but undeterred, this prosecutor, who understands that her political career is based on this case, brought another indictment against Mr. Hillary. And that is the case that will be going to trial in November. But again, if people really look at this case and not take my word for it, but actually go and do their own research and trust science, trust DNA evidence, trust fingerprint evidence, and trust an alibi that's been threatened with charges himself and will not change his story, when you take all these facts into consideration, you understand that an innocent man is being framed for the death of an innocent boy.
Yeah, Manai, last one. Since you're working so closely, obviously you're working on the case as Nick's federal criminal attorney. How are his spirits during this whole thing? Because this has gone on for so long.
It's gone on quite long, and Mr. Hillary is a very spiritual person. He's a Christian. He attends church every Sunday, and he's being prosecuted by the biggest county in New York, but he understands that when truth is on your side, you could stand against the universe. And he's undaunted in his stand for justice, and he also understands that by this fight, he has the ability to help other people who will be similarly situated and who don't have lawyers and who don't have the resources he has or the platform he has to fight this injustice.
Yeah. All right. Good luck with your case, and certainly we'll send people there, and we'll keep an eye on it and have you back on. Manai Tafari, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.